What's
I'm
up?
here finally. I miss you guys.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Mike.
Hi. Nice to meet you, everybody. I am now in
Hey.
Minnesota.
Hey, you know,
Everyone
everyone was wondering, Esmeralda, if you were actually real or not. So that's great. All right. So thanks, everybody, for having me. Isaac, thanks for putting this together and hosting this for the last few years. I have to make a joke because
he's not conceited or anything. So
all right. So today's going to be part of my French. So in the spirit of having a bunch of founders here, pardon my French, but I'm gonna drop the F word. We're gonna have some fun today. Hope that's okay. Just a little bit of background. What we're going to talk about eventually here in just a minute is what I call the founder's roadmap for LinkedIn success. And so just so you know a little bit more about my background, because career doesn't happen in a vacuum. About 10 years ago, I started my first business. It was named Zico. And I'll kind of lightly touch on a couple of relevant points as we kind of go through the roadmap here in a few minutes. About a year ago, we did a merger with Relevant, and now we rebranded to Abound Social. And so the reason why I brought that up is because all of the things that I'll be sharing today, we've done. And so I wish that 10 years ago, I would have sat through this 15 minutes and gone, that's a good idea. It makes sense. And I should have actually just done it. So it's not like there's going to be any secret hacks here. It's just, listen, if you're starting a business, whether it's just you or you've got like your first employee or whatever, there are a few really smart things that you need to do to be successful. And if you don't, there is a likelihood that your growth will either slow or you'll run out of funding and your business will die. Like I said in the email this morning, it is really easy to start a business. It's like $70. You get your articles of organization. It's not a big deal, but being able to turn a profit, that's really what we're after. And so we're going to go over the roadmap here. I am going to share my screen, and Monty, just let me know if we're good to go. Okay. What we usually do is we'll do a couple slides, and then what I like to do is kind of pop over between the slides and LinkedIn just to keep it, fun. But this is a roadmap, and I thought, well, we've got a bunch of probably gritty founders who are my people. Oops. Thanks, John. So we got we got a bunch of gritty founders. Want to have some fun. I thought, since we're doing a map, we should, instead of doing like your normal slides, we should actually make it like a map, right? So this is the F word. We're fund. Hope that's okay. So legends of the map. We have this guy right here. He's founder, little founder man. He looks like me, little founder man who has no clue what he's doing. And then as he goes through the journey of starting his business, he's got these little trail signs, trail warning, do this before proceeding. And if you have the foresight to look a little farther ahead, you'll see a bunch of businesses. So you'll see these little dead stick figure guys. This is not the dead founder, because the founder can start another business. This is the dead business. So these are businesses that fail to take action on the trail warning signs, the things you got to do along the way. Cool. So this will take about 5 or 10 minutes. It's gonna be fun. So here we go. Oblivious little founder, Isaac, wants to start a business. So this is me again, 10 years ago. I was like, hey, I trademarked it and everything. Zico, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna make a lot of money. It's gonna be amazing. All butterflies and rainbows. I have no idea what I'm doing, really, right? I knew that I had a skill set, and there are some different ways that I could make money. And then I actually had a conversation with someone, and they're like, hey man, listen, you got to figure out what you sell. So this is almost like this is kind of like a little bit pre-LinkedIn, but if you jump here onto LinkedIn itself, if you go over here, if you even like know kind of what you want to do, and you don't know, how you're going to make money, This is going to be a big roadblock. And so like my history was, well, I just started a company. I could make money doing analytics. I could make money doing paid ads. I could make money doing sales enablement. I could make money doing all these different things from my work history. And someone goes, listen, you got to like, it's okay to be diverse and how you do your revenue, but you got to like pick something. You got to pick something, because downstream, if you don't pick something to sell and stick with it for a little bit, what's going to happen if you look a little farther ahead, you'll see a bunch of businesses that died just a little bit farther on that never made it past like a year or two because they never figured out what they're actually going to sell. And they never ended up building any kind of revenue stream, and then they ran out of money. So maybe you started a business and it's your life savings or whatever. If you don't pick something to sell, you're going to just run out of money. And I remember someone told me that, and I was like, oh, you know what? That's a great idea. And it really translates. I mean, think about it later. Like the sale is really the destination, right? If right in the beginning, you would be shocked how many founders, they're like, I'm excited to start a business, but they haven't actually kind of ironed out what their offering is. And it's okay if it changes and evolves over time. But you got to just in the beginning, just my advice, pick what you're going to sell. Otherwise, you're going to not know who to talk to. You're going to not know what the conversation needs to look like. You're going to not know what to do anywhere, especially LinkedIn. So that's the first kind of trail warning sign is, please, my advice to you, figure out what to sell. Then you go a little bit farther along, got some money in your hand, right? You've figured out what you're going to sell. And then you go, figure like who buys from you, like who's your target market? That could be the industry, that could be the title. And my mistake here was I picked a service offering. Okay. I'll use the language now. We do like sales enablement on LinkedIn. And so that was, I picked it. It's like, yes. And then I got a little bit farther along and I was like, well, now who buys this? And this is something also that you'll refine over time. But in the beginning, if you're a founder and you're just getting started and you want to use LinkedIn, you have got to figure out who to talk to. You've got to figure out who your target market is. You may come from a background where you know what that is, and that is a really big win. But a lot of folks, honestly, even like larger organizations, they haven't figured this out, and it causes so much problems. But if you're going to be using LinkedIn and you know what you're going to sell, you've got to figure out like who cares? Like who cares? If you don't know the people on LinkedIn who should have a conversation tied to your offer, tied to your revenue, what's going to happen is you are going to, like, you can kind of see where this business died. They spent all their time talking to the wrong people. And I almost went down that route because what I was doing 10 years ago was kind of new. And I was like, who would buy this? I can make some guesses, make some assumptions. And what my mistake was, I talked to a lot of the wrong people and it wasted my day. And in the beginning, your time is so valuable. So I wasted so much time talking to the wrong people. And I learned some valuable lessons. I learned who to not talk to anymore, right? But if you're just getting started and you're wanting to use LinkedIn, it sounds silly, but you've got to define your target market. Because once you get here and you're like, all right, let's do a people search or let's look for companies. If you don't know who they are, you're going nowhere. You're going absolutely nowhere. So do your best to define what your target market is as best as you can. And yes, again, it's going to change and evolve over time, but you need to know as a founder, this is your responsibility. Pick your service or product offering, and then figure out who do you need to talk to make money. And a lot of people, they are kind of guessing, throwing spaghetti against the wall, hoping something sticks. And then they end up wasting a lot of time. And in the beginning, it's just so risky to spend your time doing something that doesn't move the needle, right? It's just so risky. So define your target market. Once you've defined your target market, again, this is like, you know what you're selling, you know who you're going to talk to. The next step is kind of obvious. You need to set up your profile. Like I tell people this, like, don't even worry about how the conversation is going to go yet. Like if you go here to your profile, now that you know what you're selling, and now that you know who's going to be looking at your business presence on LinkedIn, you know, the first place that someone goes is usually your profile. you could be sharing content in the newsfeed. You could be sending someone an invite. You could be sending someone an email, doing all these different things. The first pit stop is usually the profile. And if you lose someone at the profile, like, you lose them. And a lot of founders, they're focused on, delivering the service or product or whatever, and they can kind of like let the profile fall to the wayside. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on best practices for setting up your profile. My point here is that the secret sauce is just doing it. Like, there are that's the secret sauce, is just doing it. So set up your profile so that it communicates your value. And a lot of founders don't do this. And so what happens is, if you and really everyone on your team who's on the platform, if they don't set up their profile to quickly communicate the value that they bring to the target market that you figured out, what's going to happen is no one's going to realize your value and no one's going to talk to you. If you want to start a conversation, someone's going to look at your profile and they're going to judge you within like 3 seconds. And if they're not persuaded right away that you're worth knowing, worth talking to, it's like you'll never get traction. So if you're a founder, just don't neglect to set up your profile. And if you're a founder, just remember your profile doesn't need to be your resume, right? That's only going to turn your profile into a resume if your business fails. So just don't forget to take time to do that. Once you've done that, this is, I think, where more people drop off the bus is what do they do about their company page, right? Because if you're engaging that target audience on the platform, right, you know who they are, and we'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute. They're like, okay, this person, Isaac, it looks a little trustworthy. It's got some stuff going on. What's up with their company? And if there's no company page, if someone's like kind of creeping on your profile a little bit, and they see that there's like, it's gray down here with your work history, they might go like, is this business legit? Is this business for real? Right? So if you are a founder, if you just started a business, take the time to create a company page and add it to your profile. Just take the time to do it. It's free. Just do it. And then I don't want to, again, get into too much here with all of the setup that you can do. My point is, founders, set up the company page. Should not be gray down here, because it's a huge factor for trust. When someone sends me a message and I'm maybe thinking about talking to them, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to look at their experience, see who their employer is, and then I'm going to go to the company page and I'm going to check them out a little bit. And then I'm going to go to their website, and I'm viewing as a admin. So I'll look at their profile, I'll look at their company page. And if I trust it all the way through, I'll go to the website, right? So if that continuity is there, it's really, really helpful for your business just appearing trustworthy, right? And you can kind of see here, like, if you look a little farther ahead, this business died because they didn't set up their company page, and they lost a huge deal just because they didn't look like they had their stuff together. They didn't look trustworthy. And if you're trying to sell, especially B2B, to another business, and they're trying to figure out if you're trustworthy enough to give $50,000, you better believe you should have a company page, right? You should have a website, a company page. If that's not there, you're going to be viewed as like maybe a solopreneur or freelancer, and that's fine if that's where you're at. But as you grow, you've got to set it up. It's a huge deal for revenue. So you go a little farther along, set up your company page. There's a little tornado that came and you made it, thank goodness. And then the next trail sign is you got to share some content, right? And this is all before you really start even engaging people, because again, the journey is you do this stuff. You maybe send an invite, maybe you're sharing content. The path that people take is to go to your profile, to go to your company page, to go to your website, and there needs to be trust all the way through. So before you really start engaging your strategy, I would say start sharing something, and it should go on both your like from your personal account and from the company page, because what happens is it helps both you for your personal brand and your new startup for their branding as well. So get some content out there. It doesn't have to be super amazing. Obviously, don't make it garbage, but just get something out there so that when the people you're engaging in a sales and marketing context, or even like candidates or referral partners, when they kind of go through and check you out, you look like you know your stuff, right? You might be a super wizard. You might be like the most educated person in your industry in the whole world. But if you have not said anything anywhere, no posts on your personal account or on your company page, they just have no way of knowing that at all. So just get some stuff going in the beginning. And I made this mistake as a founder. And it's one of the reasons why we did the merger with Relevant, which was Monty's business, because I suck at content, as you can tell, stick figures, right? Right. So I never got into content at all. And then I realized that I should have. And so that's part of why we did the merger. So just get the ball rolling with content. And when you're a founder, you're wearing so many hats. It can be hard, but just make sure you take the time to do something. All right, so let's move on here. Little founder started sharing some content. Things are doing well. And this is where I think that, in 2022, this action item for founders has become table stakes. Has become the most common. And I'm happy to see it in some ways and sad to see it in other ways because people tend to not do a great job. But the point, no matter what, if you are a founder, you need money or your business is going to die. You just need money. And there are a number of ways to fill your deal pipeline. And the table stakes, the thing that every founder should be doing is they should be finding prospects. And you figured out who they were a little while ago. They should find them on the platform and they should start talking to them. Maybe not start selling them, but they should start talking to them. So if you are a founder and you know who you want to talk to, go to people search. Again, this is super elementary. And then just go in here and just start dialing in who would possibly be interested in what you sell. You don't have to pitch them right away, but find them right now and just start talking to them. Figure out what their needs are, right? Obviously, shortest win to money is they're ready to buy now, but that's not going to be a lot of people. But start talking to prospects. And you can see this business died here because sales never took off. It takes, especially in B2B, it takes a long time for a sale to happen sometimes, right? I mean, if you're in B2B, the sales cycle might be once every few years. So right in the beginning, if you just started a company, right in the beginning, start talking to those people so that when they enter the buying phase of the sales cycle, you're the person that they know, like, and trust. And it's kind of like preemptively getting your deal pipeline full. All right, so you've started talking to prospects, woohoo. Then you go find referral partners. And I think right at the same time, here there are three groups of people that it's very prudent to start talking to right when you first start your company. So one is prospects. Number two is referral partners. And when I'd be curious to hear later if this is true across the board. I think it is. A lot of my first clients came from referral partners. And so I took the time to find referral partners, and it was extremely helpful because, like I said a minute ago, you want to start talking to prospects right away, but you just don't know where they're at in the sales cycle. And it can be a really long time before they're ready to buy. You find referral partners and they trust you enough. They're in a position to send you warm leads. That is a really, really helpful thing when you're first getting started, because the timeline is so much shorter for when you can close the deal, right? The referral partner is in a position where they know someone's ready to buy now. They give you the referral, they give you the lead, it's warm, and it's just more likely to close a lot faster. So it's totally worthwhile in the beginning to invest in relationships with referral partners. And you can see this business here, they died along the way because they didn't get any early wins. Maybe they started talking to their prospects, but the sales cycle was so long and they ran out of money before they could, keep going. So definitely it's worthwhile to find referral partners. So same kind of flow. If you're in paid advertising, find a web design company that might not offer paid ads. If you're in realty, find a mortgage broker. Like think about in your industry, who could have a symbiotic business relationship with you. All right, moving on. You find some referral partners. This is huge and kind of this is the third thing where I say start right away. Point in case, this meeting here, surround yourself with colleagues. A lot of people on this call, we're all technically competitors. And I love that you're here because we all get to learn and we all get to encourage each other and we all get to share information. It is so incredibly helpful. And if you look a little bit farther ahead, you'll absolutely see businesses that die because the founder becomes discouraged. They have no one to give them advice. Maybe someone's a little farther along. They make mistakes and then they end up failing. So it's absolutely worthwhile. If you're a founder just getting started, I feel like it's really common to be reserved and be like, I'm not sharing anything. Like competitors, like, like get away from me. But it's actually very helpful to find colleagues. Obviously, don't be a scumbag and try to steal each other's business, but surround yourself with colleagues who are in your industry because it really, really, really pays off in the long run. There's enough business in the world to go around. And a lot of founders don't do this from the very beginning. And they end up paying what I call the stupid tax or the life tax, where they make a bunch of mistakes. And if they would have just had a friend who's a little farther along in the journey, share with them information, they could have avoided a very costly mistake. So if you're a founder, please, 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 right in the beginning, right when you first get started, start surrounding yourself with colleagues. And it's okay if they're competitors, just as long as you all click well and you can set some boundaries to, for it to be safe, go for it. All right, let's keep going. So actually backtrack one tiny thing. So prospects, referral partners, and colleagues right off the bat. I think you should start talking to those people as soon as you start your organization. Start talking to those people right away. And then third thing, or the next thing here is candidates. And so, if you are a founder, it's usually not the dream to stay owner operated forever, right? It's a really big challenge to get past the point where you're no longer the one delivering the services. And so what happens is you go, man, I need to make some more money. I need to get some big wins. And then, you get to the point where you land a big contract and you go, this is going to be great money. I'm going to be working overtime just doing the job. I can either do that and make some good money and then know that my deal pipeline is going to be empty when it's done, or maybe I should hire someone to help me so that my revenue is not directly associated with my time. And so what happens is if you decide to grow your team, what you need absolutely, especially if you get a big contract close, you need to hire someone fast. You need to hire someone fast. And it can be really hard to find a candidate who's interested, who's got the skill set, and who you know is going to click with you and the rest of your team. So even before you're thinking about hiring, it is very wise to start having conversations with people who, looking ahead, you think might be a good person to bring on the bus. And just be straight up honest with them. Say, listen, started this company. We're loving it, having a great time. I can't afford you right now, but I want to be able to afford you. When I can afford you, would you like me to let you know so that you can get on the bus? And yes or no. So you build that candidate pipeline. And then when the big job comes in, you don't have to scramble. And while you're supposed to be delivering, like also looking for people to help you out. So it's very wise, even in the early stages, to start connecting with candidates, thinking ahead. All right, this is last slide. Almost there. The journey does end with a pot of gold, but it's way farther than you think. So that's the end. So, okay, quick recap for all of you Western learners with bullet points. So number one, just figure out what you sell, right? It's kind of pre-LinkedIn. Number two, you've got to define your target market. If you don't do those two things and then you go onto the platform, you're just not going to get any traction. Set up your profile, set up your company page, lots of nuances that go into how to do that well. Start sharing content. For a founder, that's usually actually really hard, but don't neglect it. Start talking to prospects right away. Just start right away, could be a long process before they're ready to buy. Start looking for referral partners, right? Those easy wins in the beginning are so super critical for your revenue. So start finding referral partners right now. Surround yourself with colleagues. Don't be scared of your competition. Make friends with them, and then start connecting with candidates long before you're wanting to hire. And if you've got these kind of things going on and you're actually doing them on the platform, then a lot of what it comes down to next is, is your business model profitable? Is your business model scalable? A whole lot of things that are outside of what's going on LinkedIn. But that is the recap of the founder's roadmap to LinkedIn success. So I would be curious to hear in the panelist discussion, actually two things. Number one, what would you add to the founder's roadmap? I'd be curious what you'd add there. And I'd also be curious to hear from a lot of you here who started your own business, if you've got any brief stories on how, if you didn't do some of those things, how that played out for you in real life, just so that we can all kind of learn. So I'm going to switch here to panelist discussion. Let's rock and roll.
On your roadmap, number one, figuring out what you sell. We talk to clients all the time that it's about the problem that you solve. If you can figure out the primary problem that you solve, and then for who, that's what you're selling. But a lot of people don't, we're kind of conditioned to, like, when you go to live networking events and stuff, shaking each other's hands and saying, what do you do? And so we do that online as well. We're very conditioned to telling everybody what we do, without really telling them the problem that we can solve for them. So the more you can figure out from your target market what problem you can solve for them, the more successful you're going to be in getting into those conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And my kind of quick story there is, so like my wheelhouse when I first started my own company was sales enablement, paid ads, and marketing. And so they all kind of fall in line with a business wants to grow. And I had to decide, what do I want to give my time to for revenue? Because in the beginning, it's just you. It's just you. So I was like, I need to pick one thing that I'm going to do so that it can be repeatable and not a big divergent project management nightmare where I can't actually be profitable. So I think a lot of people that are just getting started, they say, hey, I'm a Swiss Army knife. I can do these 100 things, even to solve one problem.
Yeah.
And because they don't pick one service or product offering to solve the problem, it doesn't become repeatable. Things fall through the cracks. It becomes very hard.
Yeah, in service-based industries, it's really hard.
We didn't mention anything about websites or web presence or domains or anything. It was just specific to LinkedIn here. But if you've got all your LinkedIn in order and there ain't no good website to go to, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I start to talk a little bit of that away now sometimes. I gotta help it, But if they don't see a web presence that's equivalent or similar, or the website is different from what LinkedIn looks like, so there's a little bit more to it than just LinkedIn, because I always go to the website. Don't you? Before, it's one of the one, two, three, fours that we do.
What you're saying is about consistency. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Am
do
I
the same
breaking
thing.
up?
It's okay. Someone will go to your profile, your company page, and your website. And two of those three things are on LinkedIn. So there's, like, Mary, yeah, you were cutting up, but I'm pretty sure you were saying it's all about the consistency. Right? Yeah.
And having your brand across all the platforms that you're on. Don't be different on on your website. Make sure that who you say, I was just on a call, they have coaches and consultants listed in there about you, and they have social selling for your team in their headline. They're changing direction. And I'm like, you need to be consistent. That's a confusing message. So on your website, on your LinkedIn, whatever other platforms you're on, Your brand should be consistently seen across all platforms and clear.
For sure. Panelists, what else would you tell of somebody who's just getting started with their business related to LinkedIn? What would you tell them to do?
I would say that you think you know what your clients want, right? Because you know what the services you provide. But I would say be open to understanding that the way you present it might not be how your clients understand it. So do what we call ask interviews, where you're doing some research to determine, well, what's the language that your clients are looking for? What's the language and the terminology that your clients use? Because when you use that verbiage in your profile, it's going to resonate more with your clients. So why we might describe something a certain way and we know what we do is valuable, it's the perception from your client's point of view.
Yeah. Mary,
So
have you
I
ever
would
had
also-
someone, in the very beginning make that what you just described part of sort of their standard process for new product of an existing organization or new product for a new organization, where they're making time to do like the ask interview
Yes.
with their target market before they really
Yes.
go all in on creating like their collateral and stuff?
When you're starting off, you think you're thinking about your brand and you think it's your colors, fonts, and logos. Those are your assets. That's not what your brand is. You have to understand what your brand is. And I think that's where most business owners, myself included, don't understand when you're starting off, to really create, define, and establish your personal brand, because that comes across in everything. Your personal brand is your reputation, what you're known for. And that comes across on your LinkedIn profile, your website, when you're talking to clients. So doing the foundational work and then spreading it across all the platforms is, I think, the foundation. Understanding, what do you want to be known for? How do you want people to feel when they work with you, when they see your content on LinkedIn? Like mine's easy. Fun, informative, casual, conversational. Conversational because that's where the magic happens with my clients. Fun and informative because LinkedIn can be boring, right? But I make it fun. When I present, it's got that fun element and it's still informative. So I think doing that foundational work will really set you up for a smoother ride and to attract the right clients. If my profile was written very sterile, like maybe from an accounting or a tax person, like perspective mindset, I would attract the people that I don't want to work with, right? I don't want to work with tax accountants or lawyers or any of those. Those aren't my people. Those aren't the clients that I can serve. There's other people in this group that work with them, like Viveka Hess. When I just had a consultation with an attorney, had no idea he was an attorney. I was like, oh, I'm not the right LinkedIn person for you, but I have someone I can refer you. So what you said, Isaac, the other mistake I made is I did not want to connect with other LinkedIn strategists when I started my business years ago, because I was scared they were going to take business from me. Right, Judy? And that doesn't happen. Like, this community is so tight. We're here to support each other. So whatever business you're in, find other people that do what you do, that you can establish trusted relationships with, where you can have authentic conversations and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly that's going on in your business and in your industry.
So let me add to the the profile thing. If you're starting out, is put yourself in your prospect's shoes and know that they don't really care about you. They really don't. It's what is in it for them? What can they get out of this? And how can you, as the purveyor of wonderful services, educate them to be a better buyer of your service? So maybe there are, things that they're not aware of. Maybe, it's like, how many insights can you provide? What can you give away for free? How can you earn their trust? And not make it about you. And I always do the me, my, I versus you, your, us test when looking at a profile. And you'll find that I think the term is called client-centric or value-centric profile. But if it's not keyword stuffed and it's really something like, here are 5 tips that you can do today. So whether or not you work with me, here's something that you can use. That to me demonstrates and expertise instead of saying, I am a certified this, and I am this, and I have this experience, and who gives a flying potato? So that would be the first thing. And the second thing I would say is make sure that your profile is fully optimized. Every aspect of it, including multimedia, everything, because that does rank higher in the algorithm when people are searching. And then the other thing I would say is make sure you have a company page. I can't tell you how many people I see and they don't, oh, I don't need a company page. No, you know why you need a company page? Because LinkedIn has like a 98 Moz ranking in terms of credibility. So if someone types in your name and it comes up, guess what? Your company page will come up as well. And it's more chance to engage. You can engage, your company page can brag about you. Our CEO, Isaac Anderson, just had this wonderful blah, blah, blah. Isn't he great? The company page can say that, but Isaac can't say that.
Company page should say that.
Your company page.
Monty, get on that company page.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just my take on it. It's always been about what's in it for the end user. Always. It's always about them. And if you make it about them, then they're going to listen and we're going to pay attention. So that's my 2 cents, 1.5 cup of coffee today. I'm cutting back.
Anybody? So we've got just another minute or two here for panelists before we move into open Q&A. Panelists, anything that you would add to a founder who's kind of just getting started, maybe a year or two in, for what they should not neglect on LinkedIn? Anything you would add to this?
It's a solid.
They have
list.
employees, making sure the employees also show up on the company page. It's enough for us to have it and stuff, but if it's not just us, a company of one, seen a lot of those, right?
What I would add is look at your existing network, download your database, do a sort. People have moved on, they've changed roles, and re-engage with your existing network.
Yeah. Start talking to prospects, new and old, right? New contacts and old contacts, for sure. Anything else, panelists, you'd like to add to this list before we go to open Q&A? Okay, Jiminy Crickets, let's move on. So we want to make priority here live questions to keep it orderly. If you could just use the Zoom raise your hand. Don't actually raise your hand, even though that's always funny to see. Use the Zoom raise your hand so that we can be orderly with the order. And then just go ahead and we'll bring you on and use your mic. If there's no one brave enough to ask or to chime in, then we'll move to whatever's in the chat. If you do have a question though, please keep it 30 seconds or less. William Sims, you are up.
Thank you so much, Isaac. Can you flesh out in more detail your process for establishing relationships with referral partners, and who do you see synergistically as good referral partners for your current business?
I'll actually, Monty, that's more Monty's day-to-day. You want to talk about that, Monty?
About finding your channel partners? Is that what
Yeah.
was the question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. You have to consider your industry that you're in. So, William, what industry are you involved in?
Business coaching.
Business coaching. Okay. So depending on the type of business coaching, you have to understand who might be like a either doing that as well or within your industry, but not in your area. If that makes sense, maybe it's not in your region. Like if there's, where do you live right now?
Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay, so you can find people on the East Coast, find people on the West Coast, north of you that you're going to have some synergies that you can bring on and do something like this as a panel type discussion. If you want to find specific channel partners that are going to refer you, depending on what you're coaching on, that may be a CPA, it might be an attorney, somebody else that's in a like industry that can say, yep, you need to go work with William. They already have the client and they can make an introduction on your behalf. So how that looks, if you're going after channel partners, you're going to reach out to them as though they are a potential lead, right? You want to start up a discussion. Channel partners are only good if you guys can refer one another and if you can help each other. And if you're wanting to bring on people who can do panels with you and stuff, that's all about synergy. People that you get along well with and that are good people that, you're not gonna, if you do something like this, the whole goal is not just to scrape everybody that comes through and, to go after those. It's just an ability to create ongoing content, being able to partner together to create your own trust, expertise, and authority through events like this, so on and so forth. So does that help?
Yeah, the second part of my question, perhaps you didn't hear it, was who does Abound Social see synergistically as good channel partners for yourselves?
There's a number of people. I mean, since we serve in the B2B space and we are, we can help a wide variety of companies as long as they have a service or product that's sold through a relationship. So coaches sometimes can make good channel partners. We can also, we've had, even our clients are channel partners, honestly.
Good channel partners.
Yeah, and they're kind of the primary one. I mean, when you have clients, they should be referring you, assuming you're doing a good job. So it can come from a number, kind of a broad way for us. I mean, anybody that works with us, we make a channel partner.
William, I'd say you've been in business for a long time, but just to kind of say it succinctly, who's going to be asked for your services, but doesn't do it? Who's going to be asked? And it's usually going to be a similar service, but a different niche. So put some thought in that. And then most people, if you're paying like a referral commission, most people are pretty open to having an initial dialogue. Hope that helps.
Thank you.
Anybody else brave enough to raise their hand? Come on live for the whole world to see. We won't even charge you a marketing fee. Go ahead, Royce.
This is kind of a micro question, but as far as company pages go, like I'm a content marketer and I deal in a lot of different industries, but I'm looking to niche down to one particular one. Would it be smart to make that niche my company page, if that makes sense? So I could, or would it be better to keep the company page general? You know what I'm saying?
You're going to get a lot of opinions on this, Royce, but mine is make your company page reflect what your business model is actually about. Like, how do you actually make money, and make it fall in line with that?
Yeah, I know it's tough because I've written for so many different kinds of industries. So I don't want to blow that off, but at the same time to concentrate on one niche, which is obviously easier to do. I don't know if I should just change my whole profile or, I thought about, well, if I added a company page with that niche, that might work. So that was my thought.
My advice would be to keep your company page informational, providing somewhat of an educational resource, if you would, to a general audience so that they know what your business does, and your personal profile would all be based around Royce. This is who I am. This is how I develop out my content, my approach to content, why you should be doing content, so on and so forth, right? So you want to create that likability factor through your profile, but you want to have a verification factor and an education factor through your company page. That'd be my suggestion.
You can also, Royce, worst case scenario, if it flops, change it back.
Yeah, it's free.
Realize that company pages are extremely difficult to get engagement to. extremely difficult. So when you're putting your company page together, when people are going to go and check that out, they're going to largely use it kind of like a website where they're going to verify you as a legit business, right?
That was my thought. That was my thought. If I go into this new niche, okay, if they see I have a company page in that niche,
yes,
then that would make sense. But
it would. In addition, for company pages, you want to be able to continue to put content out there. It doesn't have to be daily, but you do want to have content that you're pushing out there so that they see that you're active, right? And that you're actually using it. But your personal profile, if you're a solopreneur and you're building that up, you should focus about 90% of your effort on your personal profile.
Alan, did you want to chime in there? I
Absolutely.
saw you looking like you were wanting to say something.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that you can use either showcase pages or, if it's appropriate, product pages against your company page for a particular area of your or specialism of your niche. So if you write for 2 or 3 particular sectors and there's distinct differences between what you do for those different sectors for your content, you could create showcase pages for each of those that can highlight your expertise in that particular field.
And what do you mean by a showcase page?
A showcase page is the same as a company page. It's just affiliated to an existing company page. You're allowed 10 of them. They're going to get replaced by product pages, I would imagine, over time. But it's just like a sub-affiliated company page.
Yeah, it's a good possible solution. Royce, just so you know, showcase pages don't get a whole lot of visibility. That's probably the one downside of a showcase page.
They don't,
Yeah,
and it's really just another content resource that you have to
right. I'm not looking
worry
to
about.
I'm not looking to create traffic, from the company page. I just wanted it as, more proof that he knows something about this niche.
For sure.
It's a good way of segmenting your company pages, and showcase pages are a good way of segmenting your connection list. My background is in project and program management. And then I got into property before I got into business coaching and LinkedIn coaching. So, probably 50% of my connections are all about project management and program management. Another quarter are probably about property. It's only a quarter that are focused on what I do now. And the ones that I guide them to follow my, the relevant company pages so that I can then really understand who my target market is from my list of connections.
Can you display a link to your showcase page in your experience section?
In certain, for some of it I do, yeah.
You can do that.
You can.
Wait, in your experience section, you can, yes. You can't in your about section. You can put links in your about section if you're on a mobile, but they only work on the mobile. They don't work on your desktop profile, which is absolutely bonkers.
Could also, Royce, just try and hit 2 birds with 1 stone and communicate that you do this, but you specialize in this. Yeah. Good luck, Royce. All right, we've got just a minute or 2 left. Anybody else have any questions? We'll make the raise your hand live priority, and then we'll move into if there's any good questions in the chat here in the last minute or 2. All right, Monty, did you by chance see anything? Or Alan, did you have a question?
I was going to ask a question. You were talking about identifying what you sell. Whenever I talk to a client that's just starting out or has only just been in business for a short period of time, the question I ask them is, have you got a minimum viable product? And I always refer to the kitchen table cookie business. You start out and you think, oh, I love making cookies and people love my cookies. They'll buy my cookies. But when you scale that, there's making cookies suddenly become really horrible and you don't actually enjoy it anymore? And can you scale it big enough to actually make enough revenue and enough profit to turn it into a real business? And so many business owners don't go through that exercise of working out whether they actually have a real business or a cookie cutter business.
Yeah, it's a great advice.
The E-Myth principle, huh? Wasn't the gal in E-Myth a cookie maker or so? She made
Yeah,
pies.
yeah,
Sorry, pies. Similar.
yeah.
Jeremy, if you're still here, you've got a good question in there. I just want to make sure we make time for that. So Jeremy says, this is more related to the, thinking ahead with hiring candidates. Just in case I'm hiring multiple people in multiple locations, I'm only afforded one post by our company for promotion. What's the best way to handle multiple locations? You got to drop his profile, and just in case some can help. So there's a free job post, Jeremy, if you're still here, there's a free job post. You get one free at a time. What we've kind of discovered is after a day or two, the traction just kind of drops like a rock. And so it's if you're doing the free, it's helpful to just turn it off after a couple of days and redo it. If you've got multiple locations and you're doing the free, I would do, it depends on how many candidates you want, how fast, but if you want to go kind of the bootstrap route, I would do a free post for the hiring location one, and then I would turn it off after a couple of days, and I would reactivate it, make the change on where the location is for the other location. If you don't want to do that and you want to pay to play, then you just have to do, you can pay for individual ones. I'm pretty sure the last I checked, for the multiple locations, the best match you have is for the it's like you specify the location in the job post. So you still kind of have to weed through candidates to make sure that they're not fudging on where they are, and that if it's in-person workplace, that they can do it. But I think that's about as good as you're going to get there. So I hope that helps. Anybody else have any feedback for Jeremy on that? All right, I think that.
Can I ask, is anyone having timeouts on their Sales Navigator searches where it says remove parameters?
No.
God, I'm the only one who's pushing it that far. Okay.
We've got a number of things where we've got, I'd say, probably 40 phrase exclusions in title and company each, and we haven't encountered that.
I submitted a trouble ticket where I started a brand new search for a client. All I had was 2s and 3s, nothing else. And it said remove parameters. Literally. It was, and I reported it, and they recreated the problem and opened a trouble ticket. Chat on Sales Navigator has been really good. I've been getting really good results. Chat right there. I'm on with someone in a few minutes. I'm really impressed by it. To be honest, I'm ready to say bad things, and I can't, because it's worked out really well, quite frankly.
Hey, I noticed a new feature. I don't know if it's a feature, but if you try to connect with somebody in your 3rd degree, there's a pop-up that says, how do you know?
Yes.
Anderson, and it says this will be shared with so-and-so, work colleague, classmate, conference, other, we don't know each other. So I'm wondering, because I was attending a conference, and so I was doing the conference one, but I wondered if you click, we don't know each other, if it would automatically flag it or something. But it's interesting that they used to do that a long time ago, remember?
Yeah.
If you didn't know the person, you couldn't connect. So it's 3rd degree. Has anyone else seen it?
Yep. Oh, I have not seen it, but I've seen screenshots. Yeah.
I've not.
Okay, I'll share it later. Okay.
Yeah, pretty wild. All right, folks, we're past the hour. Appreciate everyone's time. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.